I guess progress is always, to a certain extent, incremental. One thing leads to another, and I guess there's an interesting question here. Header bidding is a really hot topic in 2016 at this particular event, but then in a year's time, might we be talking about something else, a new, long term, I guess, where is header bidding the long term strategy, or is it part of a journey to something else that leads us to kind of greater unified demand? Is that something?
Yeah, I mean, for me, header bidding, I think, Ben, you said it started off as a hack, and it pretty much was to get around some of the way the big ad servers worked. I think it was a hack. It's now like a robust piece of technology, but it's kind of a means to an end. It's just the way we're getting to. For me, it's about unifying demand, putting all the demand into the same places. I've heard some of the ad servers now who are just building in unified demand into their ad server. So you might not need to work with a head bidder. You could just do it all with your ad server, depending who that is. But the bit that isn't going away is unifying demand. That's the bit for me. And certainly from what we've seen, display, mobile web has been leading the charge, because you've got a lot of supply. You get more supply than demand. So if you guys have got the premium supply, it's an opportunity for you to get the right demand in. Some of the areas like video and native, where there's not necessarily the same amount of demand and supply as there is in display, I think that could start going. You could see header bidding starting to branch out into other channels as soon as the demand catches up with the supply, or the other way around. But I think display and mobile web, certainly from what we see, and I'd be interested in your guys' thoughts on that. That's where we see header bidding adding the most value for publishers at the moment. But as I say, you guys are living and breathing it, so I'd love to know what you guys think.
So I think initially where it can add the most value, looking at demand sources, is where in the kind of areas where we see huge volumes of supply and demand. So I think there's the most opportunity to really make a difference in mobile and display. Video, the market's slightly different. Supply is a lot more constrained within that. And it's we don't have that glut of impressions like we do with display, but certainly there are opportunities to improve that kind of or move to that unified auction, across whether it's native, video, mobile as well. So that's really interesting too.
It sounds, I guess, a lot like comes back to the key question of the role of programmatic within premium publishers such as yourselves. It has perhaps at the start, had that reputation for sort of eroding value of inventory, and I guess there's been something that you've battled with internally. But is programmatic now becoming an absolutely vital component of your commercial operations?
Yes. Next question. Actually. To go back to a question you asked a couple of minutes ago about, where things are going. I mean, next week or next year or whatever, what will the next big topic be? And I think that, we're still in this space where publishers are trying to, get back some power that they had lost in the early days of RTB, So I mean, now I think some game changers could be around PMP guaranteed. Those are some new product features that are coming out of some of the major exchanges, where you can have the best of both worlds, but of course it could complicate things even more. So you do a PMP deal, but the publisher guarantees that they'll float a certain number of bid requests. And the buyer, commits to spending a certain amount. That's great, because I think that's one area that publishers have suffered with a bit, is that they're putting in work into some PMPs and they don't spend. Some PMPs deliver great, others are a waste of time. So I think that will help, but I'd be interested to see how it changes the header bidding come waterfall situation that we're facing.
And do you see header bidding an advantage to help with those PMPs? Are you giving that first look?
Yeah. I mean, especially if you're on the hook for something, you have to make sure that you're looking at all of your inventory. And, like with a scarce audience, for example, I mean, now really the only option for a scarce audience has been reserve it. or a scarce piece of inventory like pre-roll, reserve it if you want to be assured of something. But now maybe if publishers are comfortable with saying, yeah, well, we can guarantee you'll get at least 1 million bid requests against that, then that could be really cool.
And I think with PMPs, we've at CNN we've got a really robust PMP business. We deal with a lot of big advertisers for global campaigns for PMPs. But I remember kind of 5-6 years ago when PMPs were first kind of touted and supposedly to be this kind of great white knight for publishers, and that hasn't really kind of come to fruition. So obviously a PMP will sit within an SSP that has got its place in the waterfall. So if we can work that round, so PMPs can see all of the impressions, then there's much more. That maybe that's a way to kind of move that forward. And I think just to follow up on your point, Alex, about programmatic within publishers. So at CNN we see around 33% of all our digital revenue come from programmatic, and that's increased pretty significantly in the last couple of years. And I think the key kind of growth area for us with that is with brand advertisers and brand campaigns. And absolutely right to say that programmatic initially started as very performance driven. And now we're seeing a lot of premium brands, premium advertisers, really take to programmatic. And I think to kind of tie that in with header bidding, if they can get better access to inventory, not in kind of a waterfall situation, better access to data, then I think that potentially that could be the next big step forward for brands. And I think absolutely crucial again within kind of the sphere of programmatic is video within that. So again, at CNN we've got huge volume of video, performs really well, and that's absolutely crucial to for our brand advertisers.